Hello, everyone. I'm Angeline and she's Resa, and welcome to episode 107 of With the Quickness.
Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday.
Yes, it's actually here in the United States. It's actually the 4th of July weekend. So tomorrow is 4th of July. So we wish all of those that are listening happy early 4th of July. So today we're going to be sharing our takeaways from the July 3rd, 2022 sermons given by Pastor T.D. Jakes of the Potter's House in Dallas, Texas, and Reverend Dr. Danté R. of First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens in Somerset, New Jersey. So Resa, what were your takeaways today from the Potter's House?
My takeaway is timing is everything.
Okay. My takeaway from First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens is in order to be a good stewardship over your own talents, you don't have to knock down the talents of someone else or suppress someone else. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about those sermons later in the show. But right now, we're going to go on to Resa's playlist. What is the song of the week, Resa?
So the song of the week this week is by Maverick and Kirk Franklin. The song is called Jealous, and it features Chandler and Lizzie Morgan. So this is off of their new album called Kingdom Book 1.
What made you decide to pick that song this week, Resa?
So I picked this song because the first time I heard it, I actually cried. And then I played it again and I read the lyrics, and it talks about how, God he can be jealous when a worshiper puts other idols in front of him, because he wants to be there for you, and he wants to love you. And he also when you do decide to come back to God, he's ready to throw a party, and he's not going to condemn you.
Yeah, I love that song too. It made me cry too when you told me what songs you were listening to. What I like the most about it is Kirk Franklin gets really hyped. Mm-hmm. I mean, and Chandler Moore, I don't know if you noticed it, but there's a kinship going on musically between those two, that when Kurt was singing his parts or listening to them sing, and Chandler would say a line, just freestyling, or was it ad-libbing or something? Ad-libbing. Okay, when he was freestyling and ad-libbing, and Kurt would just automatically tap right into that sound and right into that lyric. It was just beautiful. You could tell there was a kinship going on there. You could see the passing of the torch in that song to me. When you listen to Jealous, when you watch the video Jealous and you listen to them sing, you can actually see it's like a transference between two Avengers. It's like you could see the power going from one to the other, going, oh my gosh, he's the chosen one, he's the one that Kirk's gonna be. And he did that at the BET Awards. It made perfect sense when the BET Awards happened. And he said, this is the group we should be, I'm giving the award to them. I was like, yep, that kinship he has with Chandler, there, it's right there. That's the evidence of it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. After watching the BET Awards and seeing Maverick City and seeing Chandler Moore there and Naomi Rain there, I played the whole album for Kingdom Book 1, my new favorite album. I love all the songs.
Yeah.
And Jealous made me cry. Every time I feel like every time I play that song, I cry, because it is a beautifully written song, and I do like the arrangements of the instruments, and I do like the lyrics.
They have a song on there called Way Back that the guys all sing. Mm-hmm. And it reminds me of the perfect song for a men's ministry or a men's Sunday. Because it talks about all the things that you kind of go through as a man and stuff, and how God is still with you. I'm like, they have a lot of great songs on there, a lot of great songs. So thank you so much for bringing that to the table. Now you said something else. We were getting ready for the show, and you said you feel a little tired, and you got to explain to everyone that's listening and watching what is going on in the music world that must have you off your game a little bit today.
So, as everyone knows, I love music. And yesterday, Hulu decided that they were going to, well, it didn't start yesterday, it started Friday, actually. As of Friday, Hulu decided to air Essence Fest, which is in New Orleans. And one day I will be there. It just wasn't this year. And last night was, to me, I felt like night 2 of Essence Fest was the best night, because everyone that I love, and again, if you know me, I love music, yes, but my bread and butter is R&B from the 80s and 90s. So my favorite DJ D Nice, did a set, and he brought out my favorite all-time male singer, El DeBarge.
No.
Yeah. So I apologize to my neighbors in advance because I was jamming out and I have no shame.
What song did El DeBarge do?
He said he played I Like It.
All this love. I Like It. Yeah, all this love. Oh my gosh.
Honestly, I was getting my entire life. Okay. He was playing all the classics. He had Mary J. Blige.
Wow.
Well, she wasn't there, but DJ D Nice had played one of her songs. He also brought out Stephanie Mills.
Now these are people that he's playing, or they came out on the stage?
Well, the people that came out were El DeBarge, Stephanie Mills came out. What was his name? Carl Thomas.
Wow.
I love Carl Thomas. But I say that all to say, right? That was just like the appetizer. So as we go throughout the night, that at that point it's probably around like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
Eastern Standard Time.
Yes. The OG Patti LaBelle was there and she performed and I love her. And
did she kick off her shoes? She's known to kick off her shoes.
You know what? She did some dancing. Debbie Allen came out and she was dancing on the stage. So that was a very iconic moment. We love Debbie Allen.
Yes.
But of course, after Patti LaBelle performed, she did a marvelous job and she looked really good. The headliner was Janet Jackson.
Janet Jackson?
Yes. Janet the Jackson.
Wow.
Now,
did she look good? What is she? Well, she probably looked really good.
Before we even get into that, just to be crystal clear, right? At this point, right, Patti LaBelle performs a little after midnight.
Okay.
So
it's late. Oh wow.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Did I kind of doze off a little bit? Yeah, after Patti performed, but they had someone else perform in between. But I did wake back up for Janet. So by the time it was 2 o'clock, Janet was out. And now, mind you, it's 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Janet came out in a sparkly, all black bodysuit.
Wow.
Killed it. For 2 seconds, I forgot that, she is of a certain age because I thought it was 90s again. She killed it. I was so happy.
Oh wow.
She did I think it was over an hour long set.
Set, really?
She performed most of her hits from the 80s and 90s and even the early 2000s. She did a dance break. I love a good dance
Someone
break.
Needs to put that on YouTube for me, please, so I could see some of it.
Yeah, and then she did Rhythm Nation, rightfully so. I'm not gonna lie. I need to go to a Janet Jackson concert just for the nostalgia, if not anything else. But I love Janet, and she did a really good job. I was proud. If anything, I was on Twitter last night saying again, and I will say it again, Janet Jackson is the blueprint. Make that clear, because she set standards. So I love Janet. It was an amazing time, and I hope one day that I can go to the Essence Fest, because not only do they have performers there, they do focus on doing a lot of things for empowerment of the people. They have different scholarships and funds, and there's a lot of people go to Essence Fest.
Well, I'm glad you got a chance to actually listen to some great songs. You still ended up going to church online though, so I'm proud of you. So even though it was late, you're like, let me at least get a word today. So that was good. You did good considering.
I will say, I knew I was going to go to church this morning, but I didn't realize, because I used to, again, when you're in college, you're used to staying up that late. I am now clearly removed from college, and it was a struggle, but I did it. I got to church on time.
And you're doing the podcast this evening. I'm so proud of you.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
I did it by the grace of God and some coffee.
Yes. And I'm glad you did. Anyone that wants to listen to Resa's whole playlist, please go to www.withquickness.com. Take out the, because I'll take you somewhere else. Just www.withquickness.com to get to her playlist, and actually you can learn more about the Maverick City song is up there. We'll have you put the video Jealous. Is it Jealous or Jealousy? It's Jealous.
It's Jealous.
We'll probably put the video of Jealous up there too, so you can actually see what we're talking about how it makes you feel just watching them sing. And Kirk Franklin was outstanding. And he had some moves in that video. He had some moves. And if you have any suggestions for anything Lisa should add to her playlist, please email her. And that email address is resa@withquickness.com, right?
Yep.
All right, great. I'm glad you did stay awake, because the first house we're going to, House of Worship, is the Potter's House. And they had a message. First of all, it's their 26th anniversary, Resa. Did you see how they opened up their broadcast with the pre-show?
Yeah, I actually saw that, and they had these nice shirts about faith, which are, they're also available on his website if you would like to.
It's a faith thing, those white shirts?
Well, they weren't white. It was heather gray.
Oh, okay. They looked, they were white from when I was looking at them. But okay, it's a faith thing t-shirts, really nice. He was holding it up. I was like going, if he keeps holding that thing up, everybody gonna go, they're gonna be sold out by the time I even have my funds right to go get one.
Exactly.
Because once he puts his hands on, it's like his whole church alone probably gonna get them. They're gonna be sold out. I knew right then. But they also had a Potter's View. Me doing the Family Feud. They had Potter's Feud instead of Family Feud. And they had two families up there answering questions about, there were anniversary related to the Potter's House, like when things were built, when the names of the saints are placed where, when they were being built. They had a lot of questions about the origin story of the Potter's House in there, which is really good. It was funny when the congregation started to yell out the answers and he had to tell them, church, y'all can't say the answers. This is a game show. But it was cute. And I said to myself, that's a good thing that we should probably do in a lot of our churches. How many of us really still know the origin stories of our houses of worship? Could we play a game like that between two of the founding, families, right, that see if how much they still remember about back when the church was founded? So I really like the fact that they put that on display. It makes us all think about, I wonder if we could pull that off in my church. That's what I thought,
Absolutely. You guys.
I wonder who would win. What founding family, if we had two up there, which one would win? And which two founding families would want to do it, So I think it was a good way to start and get everybody in the good spirit. I also liked how TD Jakes took the time to make his e-members feel welcomed. He told anyone in the congregation that's an e-member, please stand up, that's visiting us. And so many people stood up. And then he turned to the camera and said, and those of you online, and gave a special mention. I was like, he's talking to us. That's so nice. How did you feel when he turned and said something directly to the Christian members online?
I definitely felt happy. I was like, oh, we're being acknowledged again. Even though he does acknowledge the people online throughout his sermons every week, it was nice for him to take time out to do that this week.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this week, Bishop T.D. Jakes, he gave his sermon and it was titled, Timing is Everything. He took his scriptures from Matthew chapter 13, verses 24 through 30 of the NIV, the New International Version. This is a part where Jesus tells the parable of the weeds among the wheat. This parable is agricultural. In it, Jesus describes a farmer who sowed wheat seeds in the expectations that in time they would sprout, grow, and at harvest, they would produce grain that he could either eat or he could sell for profit. But the farmer had an enemy who came at night while the workers were asleep, and he sowed tares among the wheat, and then he went away. Now, tares are a type of weed that strongly resembles wheat during its sprouting phase, but it lacks any kind of fruit. So time passes, and the workers start to notice that there are weeds growing among the wheat. And they wanted to, do something about it. But the farmer instructed his workers to allow both the wheat and the weeds to continue to grow until the time of harvest. And that's the setting that Bishop Jakes kind of put forward before he got into his sermon. So with that in mind, he started reminding us that everything takes time. Cooking food takes time. Having a good marriage takes time. Parenting your children takes time, et cetera, right? He said, it takes time to do anything well. In Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 and 2 of the King James Version, King Solomon reminds us that there is a time and a season for everything under the sun. So the big takeaway was you need to know when it's time to plant something and when it's time to pluck it up. You cannot have a new season unless you're willing to release an old season. He said it's all about timing. How do you feel about that, Resa, when he's talking about letting go of old things? Because that's the only way, if you let go of an old season, it's the only way you can usher in a new one.
So it was very clear to me when he started the sermon that clearly the conversations I was having with God was talking to T.D. Jakes. Because I feel like throughout my life, I have had to come across this lesson of timing is everything. And like, it keeps popping up. I still need to like, I feel like God just wants to make sure, like, not only did I learn it, but I remember that timing is everything. So I can't always, you know, I may not always get things when I would like to have them. And there's a reason why I didn't get them, because when I do get them, I'm actually ready for it. And it wouldn't be more of a hindrance to receive it later than to receive it when I wanted it.
That makes perfect sense. T.D. Jakes went on to say that at the Potter's house, that Christians must think when they read the Bible in order to retain the messages of God's word. And I thought that was so cool because he said that a couple of times this year so far, that he loves the fact that the saints in the Potter's house are thinking saints, like they enjoy learning the word on a different level, not that surfacey kind of, I'll give you a little bit I think you can handle. They want the meat of the scriptures, and he's a kind of a religious leader that's willing to give it to them. He likes the fact that you guys take the time to think, and I do too. I like that that he actually gives his sermons playing up to our intelligence instead of watering anything down. He said Jesus came to reveal God's plan to us in parables for us to understand, because there is just a level of complexity with the way God does things that we couldn't just get right now, because we have no point of reference to reference to. So he gave us parables of things that we do understand to give us some glimpses of what God's plan is. It's very similar to how an elementary school teacher kind of teaches on the level of her students, all the concepts and information. Like, she learned this stuff in college, right? But she doesn't tell them what she learned in college. She puts it on a level that an elementary student can understand when it comes to math, English, etc. T.D. Jakes went on to say he talked about the faith of stillness. And this kind of touched me a lot, because there's some times I wanted to say stuff that I could not say. I mean, I know you felt this way too. I think a lot of people have. He said faith can seem really like cult-like to unbelievers, because we got to be willing to be different and be talked about due to our beliefs. He said, don't worry about being liked. Just worry about being accountable. It's going to be hard, but you got to be still sometimes and let God work on things. So did that resonate with you too, when he got to that part of the sermon, talking about you had to sometimes just not say nothing and just keep it moving and stay in your faith?
Yeah, because as much as sometimes you may want to say something, if that outcome is not going to be a good one, just be quiet. Just be still. You don't got to say everything that you think. And
it's so hard, because sometimes it could be in your relationships, like, your siblings, with your friends, with your parents. You just want to say stuff, and sometimes you hear that little whisper like, don't say nothing. And you don't want to seem weak when he says, you're like, sometimes I have to have an inner dialogue with God. Like, what do you mean not say nothing? If I just say it, just this one thing, it'll just make her mouth drop, and she'll know she should just come to me like that. He's like, no, don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. Leave it. Just smile, or just leave the room, or just whatever. And I'm like, the faith in stillness is a hard thing to do. It's a good thing. You realize later why when you didn't say something, the person circled back and say, oh, I'm sorry. What I said, I was just having a bad day. And you're like, oh, thanks for letting me know. I try not to say when someone circles back and says, I'm sorry for whatever. I try not to say, don't worry about it, or not a problem. No, because it was a problem, and I don't want them to forget about it. So I've learned now, when someone comes back and apologize and say, I appreciate you saying that, or I say, okay, something like that. Because in the past, in my 20s, I used to say, oh, no problem. Being the nice little, the nice little girl in me would say that. The grown woman now says, nah, we ain't saying that no more.
See, to be honest, like, when it comes to stuff like that, because I don't care to argue. I really don't. But I'm not gonna lie, because I'm human. I'm working on myself. If I have time, and you really want to go there, then I'm gonna go. But most of the time, I really just don't. it's not worth it to me to sit there and say what I really want to say,
Mm-hmm.
and then have to deal with that blowback. Anyone having siblings would know this, so I just don't care to do.
And you heard what what Bishop Jake said about keeping it 100, how it would really get us all in trouble if we were really trying to keep it 100 on work, in relationships, etc.
Yeah,
so
you can't.
That whole stillness thing is a real thing we need to all master.
Especially at work. You can't listen. We've all been there. Sometimes you have to go and take a walk.
You have to go and take a walk.
Take a walk.
Exactly. He and his last points, he gave 5 lessons regarding the timing of our harvest. Lesson 1, he said, don't be naive. Don't naively think the presence of good exempts you from the presence of evil. We must be able to produce good things in the presence of our weeds, right? Lesson 2, he said, whenever there's great potential for harvest, the enemy will earmark it for a calamity to kill your progress. Lesson 3, he said, corruption and destruction are 2 different things. You aren't just fighting a demon, you're fighting a system that has been put in place to destroy you. Lesson 4, the wisdom of waiting is vital to your faith. Your faith can be expressed through your silence. So pray before you take any matters in your own hands. And lastly, lesson 5, the harvest cannot be rushed by the planter. Don't pull the fruit of your seed before the harvest. You don't want to kill your destiny. So I'm sure all those things resonated with you. They did with me too. It was a powerful, powerful service, right, Resa?
Well, yeah, because I feel like there's been quite a few times where, I've had to trust the timing of God and not mine. Mm-hmm. Listen, when I graduated college, little short, fun story. So my dad gave me a car, and it was my dream car. But at the time, I was working in retail, and I knew when I got the car, after I realized how much it would cost to actually keep the car, I had to give it back. Did it kill me? Yes, it killed me to tell my father, who was so excited to give me this car because I graduated college, I can't keep the car because if I would have kept the car, there's a good chance the car would have been repoed because I couldn't keep up with the payments. So that was the first one, which goes back to one of the rules that you had just mentioned before. Mm-hmm. Another thing was, going back to what you had mentioned about, I call him Diablo. I'm not going to say his name, but he'll set things up as ear tags when you're like, on your path. Mm-hmm. There was a job that I had taken, and when I first got it, it started off good, but mm-hmm. then there was a season, a very decent season, where it was just like issue after issue. People were like lying on me. People were making it seem like I didn't know how to do my job. And it became very difficult to the point where I was like legit about to quit my job because I was like, I don't need this stress. I don't need, because it was negatively impacting my mental health on top mm-hmm. of that. So mm-hmm. I was just like, I don't need to deal with all this. But it wasn't until, I had spoken to you and I had spoken to one of my close friends, and she was just like, you need to pray on this. And like, before you come into work, just pray, because this is only going to be a temporary season. Mm-hmm. And now, hindsight's 2020. Yep. Like now I'm the person who's like the go-to person that knows a lot. But mm-hmm. if I didn't go through that season of having to grow up and mature, then I wouldn't be where I am today. Yeah, the beautiful thing about God is that he knows our beginning and our end. And so he knew you would be at this stage right here, even when you first were going up for the job, and he knew it was going to be difficult and hard. And I think everyone, when you first get into a job, and even if you've been on one for a long time and you get new or different responsibilities on the job, it's trying. I mean, even your own inner dialogue can be something that can kind of be, hard to deal with on a daily basis. So, I mean, I totally get what you're saying. I think a lot of us do that, that Diablo, as you call him, is going to come for you. He's going to earmark like, oh my gosh, she's in this job here. He knows too, like, oh, she's going to be set up to be doing some great things. Let me sabotage the best I can. Mm-hmm. Anytime you do anything that's for your benefit, something that's going to be, propelling you forward, growing you up in some way, even pushing the Lord's message across, he's there. He's waiting. He's trying to put his foot out to trip up people all the time. Bishop Jake said the reason that weeds are driving you crazy right now is because your harvest time is upon you.
And if you took a close note of the service, the choir sung in the beginning, "It's already done." And they didn't even know, Bishop Jackson, they didn't even know what he was going to speak about. And it was the perfect song to set the tone for the message, because timing is everything. It's already done. Everything he has meant for you is already there. No one can take away what he has planned for you. So those that wish to view Bishop T.D. Jakes' July 3rd sermon, Timing is Everything, please go to his YouTube channel by that same name, T.D. Jakes, and listen and watch that sermon there. Okay. Let's move on now to First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens in Somerset, New Jersey. Their theme for July is "I Press My Stewardship." The praise singers and dancers set the tone in the sanctuary. And then we had a beautiful testimony that was given by Sister Donna Davis. She talked about understanding her responsibilities that come in her stewardship. She talked about her stewardship. Then Reverend Dr. Danté R. Quick gave his sermon, which is titled, guess this, Resa, check this out. He titled it, "If You Think You're Lonely Now." You know the rest of that, don't you? Wait until tonight, girl. The scripture he picked was Genesis chapter 3, verses 18 through 13 of the New Revised Standard Version. After eating from the tree of knowledge, Adam and Eve try to hide their nakedness from God in the Garden of Eden. When questioned by God regarding who told them about their nakedness, Adam tried to pass the blame off to Eve. And so that's what that scripture is about there. So Pastor Quick started by talking about Bobby Womack's song that we just mentioned, which is from the album The Poet. He said the song isn't about money. In fact, it's about a man that's trying his best to be the best steward he can be, but he's being compared to others by his woman, right? And so after he gave us a little breakdown of the song, and he went into giving us a little bit of a history lesson. He talked about everything from the Willie Lynch letter all the way to the formation of West Virginia, and if they get a chance to listen to a sermon, please give it a listen. I mean, there's too much to write here. I don't want to, I'd be transcribing for a long time if I said everything that he said. So please just listen to it yourself. He gives a beautiful history lesson of the things that we're going through as a nation and how we got to where we are, and the stewardship that we need to be accountable for of how we do things in this country. He went on to talk about the things to remember about the Bible. 1, there are 4 possible writings of the book of Genesis alone. Some of us didn't know that. I didn't know that. I kind of assumed there was various writings, but I didn't know there was like 4. He said the Bible, though inspired by God, was written by man, and it was used to justify destruction and evil in this world, like slavery, like, Hitler used it. A lot of people, they're using it in Russia now to, say why they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing. People use the Bible incorrectly all the time and for, ill purposes all the time. He went on to say, things to remember about Eden. He said, Adam and Eve were created perfectly equal. He said, the tree of knowledge is a clear reminder that knowledge is neutral. There's no such thing as good knowledge and bad knowledge. Knowledge is neutral. He said, Eve was talked to a snake, but all of us have snakes whispering in our thoughts. A snake that tells you, and says, condescending things about other people, or makes you want to, lower your morals and things like that. So we all have these inner whisperings telling us to do things that aren't correct, or to think about things incorrectly. Then he said 3 things to remember. He said, designation of limitations. Don't knock anyone down while you're trying to be a steward over your own talents. Like, in order to elevate yourself, you don't have to suppress someone else or their gifts. That's important to remember. He said, presentation for liberation is important. We are all struggling to live up to God's expectations. Be careful of people that don't take responsibility. He gave a really good story somewhere here too, where he talked about being on a plane. He has good plane stories, by the way, because he travels a lot. He did a good plane story about this man on the plane that thought he was a basketball player because of the way he dressed. And he basically broke it down to a way where he was even sharing a story about his grandmother who worked in the White House. So I think that gentleman got off the plane thinking, wow, I'll never make a mistake of thinking a well-dressed Black man is a ball player ever again. but I'm not going to give it away. You have to listen to it. He also said, reminded us about Black excellence, which was really good. And he said, knowledge is transformative. There are so many wonderful pearls of wisdom in this talk there were so many pearls of wisdom in this sermon. You have to go listen to it. So please watch Pastor Quick's If You Think You're Lonely, July 3rd sermon at the FBC Somerset channel on YouTube when you get a chance. All right. Resa, will you give that sermon a listen to sometime this week?
Absolutely, yeah.
Good. Please, please, please do. You're going to love his story on the plane. You're going to love that story. All right. Now let's go on to the screening room. I need to explain, I have such a love for Pure Flix. I really do, but they are not sponsors of With the Quickness. But I have a subscription. And so that's where I prefer to take all of my good, wholesome, Christian, family-oriented movies from, because I'm paying for that subscription, so I'm going to use it. The movie I picked this week is called The Job. And it was written by Stephen Lee and Randy J. Godwin. It was directed by Randy J. Godwin too. Now, the stars of the film, let me start with Randy first. Okay. Randy J. Godwin was born in Omaha, Nebraska. He carved out an amazing career in Hollywood as an actor, a producer, a writer, and a director. He starred in more than 60 network television shows and feature films, including Dynasty, Star Trek Picard, NCIS, The Rookie, Vampire Diaries, Grey's Anatomy, 911, CSI Crime Scene Investigation, CSI Miami, Kevin Hill, Girlfriends, Abby, I can keep going. Living for Love, the Natalie Cole story, I can keep going. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Okay. But in 2019, he completed his God-driven goal of directing, co-writing, and producing and starring in The Job. It's a faith-based drama. It's produced under his Fallen Giant film banner. The film was acquired by Sony Pictures, Pure Flix, and the movie debuted on June the 1st, 2021, and it'll keep running until December of this year, December 31st of this year. In addition to Randy starring in this movie, you have Kendra C. Johnson. And you'll remember Kendra because she's had many roles, acting roles in the entertainment industry too, but me and you might know her best from Stacy and Fat Girls with Monique. Yeah, she played her, and she has a reoccurring role in the BET series The Game. She also starred in OWN's Love Thy Neighbor. So that's how we know Kendra. Ben C. Adams, Ben is seen in his national tour, Peter Pan 360. He also played in Nips and had a starring role in Peter Pan. Then he went on to be cast in shows like Rich Dad Birth, iCarly, and Criminal Minds. The movie also stars Sean Summers and Lee Bagsby. Here's a brief synopsis. Now, I must make it known that Pure Flix modified the movie for family viewing, so I'm not sure if you watch it somewhere else, if you're going to see something a little more racy or dicey somewhere. But I'm told it's a faith-based film. It probably was only modified a tiny bit, but I can't vouch for the original version. I saw a modified version on Pure Flix. The synopsis is, after killing a man in the ring and losing everything, Faith leads the fallen from grace champion, Lance the Dance Foster, down a path of redemption, forgiveness, and what may be the toughest fight of his life, saving a kid who's trying to rob him. The themes are faith, the Bible, power of prayer, hope, and demonstration of faith. I like this film so much. It reminded me of when we went to the theater, Resa, and you're watching these plays that could take place all in just, one room. This whole thing could have been a play done on Broadway, where they only had like one or two rooms set up, because it all takes place basically in the townhome the young man is trying to rob, the former champion's home when he breaks in. And as he's trying to rob the champion, Lance is trying to convert this young man to Christ, trying to figure out, if he's a believer, why are you doing what you're doing? You should turn your life over to Christ the whole time. Even in the face of a gun in his face, he still has complete faith. And it's quite an amazing movie. I didn't think it would affect me the way it did, but there's a part in the film. That's why I hope you watch it. There's a part in the film where Lance gives, where I think he tells a story where a young man in college is saying to a professor about God, that God exists. And the professor's trying to make it very clear that God doesn't exist with all his wisdom and intellect. And he kind of proves it real quick to the point where he gets the student dumbfounded, where he's not really sure how to answer. And he's like, I told you God doesn't exist, something like that. But another student stands up and challenges the professor. And the things that student says, as Lance is telling the story, is something every Christian needs to hear. Because I mean, we need to put that in our arsenal, those answers, so that we can like say it back when someone says, I don't believe there's a God or stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna try to memorize that part of the film right there, because it was that good, because it really made a person go, oh, there is a God, there is a God. If you look at it scientifically, yes, there is a God. So I was really amazed. We're going to actually have the trailer to The Job on the With the Quickness website. And I hope you all will take a look at it. If not, I hope you at least plan on take a look at it in the future. Resa, you're a person that has a movie night, so I know you will take a look at it, right?
Absolutely.
Great. Now, last time we were speaking to each other, we were talking about stars, and we were talking about Karen Abercrombie, remember?
Right.
And the challenge we had was, could we do a 6 degrees of Karen Abercrombie like they do the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon? And I said, I believe we can, because she's been in a lot of these films I've been watching. I bet you she's connected. I bet you everyone in the entertainment industry is kind of connected to her in some way. And you gave me some names. Do you remember that? Resa, you gave me some names, and I'm going to tell you guys what my results are. She gave me Kirk Franklin, Jamie Foxx, Viola Davis, George Clooney, Julia Roberts, and Ethan Hawke, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to hit my microphone, but you gave me those names, those 6 names. And you gave me some more, but I haven't had enough chance to do the 3 last ones. But this is what I came up with for Kirk Franklin. Kirk Franklin is connected to the Greater New Hope Anointed Ministry pastor, Calvin E. Collins. In 2006, he spoke at his church, right? Pastor Collins had Karen Abercrombie speak at his church in 2015. So that's 2 degrees of separation. Maybe 1, if you just count one person between them, right? Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx is connected to her too. Here's how. Jamie Foxx was featured in Ne-Yo's song, She's Got Her Own. In that video, the song featured Jill Marie Jones. Jill starred in owns Delilah's TV series. And in that TV series, Karen Abercrombie played Miss Virginia. Degree between them there. Okay, Viola Davis, don't think I can do it? Hold your seats. It can be done. Viola Davis and Will Smith were in Suicide Squad, right? Will Smith and Romeo Miller were in Bad Boys 3. That's 2 degrees so far. Romeo Miller was in Never Heard with Karen Abercrombie. Boom, they're connected. See? Now, getting a little harder, she said George Clooney. Let's give that a try. George Clooney acted with Brad Pitt in Ocean's 11, right?
Right.
Brad Pitt once dated Robin Givens. Robin Givens acted with Karen Abercrombie in the film Never Heard. Boom, connection. All right, got 2 more people left. Hold your seats, we can do it. Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts, a little hard, but I'm gonna see if I get this done. Julia Roberts and Denzel Washington starred in The Pelican Brief, right? Okay. Denzel and Halle Berry won their Oscar awards in the same year, 2002, right? Taking pictures and stuff like that. So they're kind of connected, kind of friends. They know each other. Halle was married to Eric Benet. Eric Benet acted with Karen Abercrombie in Trinity Goodheart movie. Boom, there's the connection. Did you see it? Did you see it? And it was still under 6 degrees right there. You see that? Now the last one, Ethan Hawke. This one took me back a little bit, because I'm trying to figure out everything that Ethan starred in and try to find a connection. Ethan Hawke appeared in Cutthroat City with Terrence Howard. Terrence starred with Harold, I think it's Perrineau in The Best Man. Harold starred with Karrueche Tran in the TV show Claws. Carucci acted with Karen Abercrombie in the film Never Heard. Boom, mic drop. She is the next 6 Degrees. Don't believe it? Give me another name. Give me another name. I'm telling you guys, the Kevin Bacon one, that's old news. Karen picks her films in ways that there might not be a lot of films. Let's get this very clear. But she's prayerful over her films to the point where if you look at it, she's connected to almost everybody in Hollywood and entertainment. I'm telling you, she's connected. Karen, you can thank me for shining the light on this later. But that's what I'm working on. Every time somebody give me a name, to see how they connected to you. Because every time I watch a film, she's been popping up in these films, Resa, all these faith-based films. I think she prays over her roles.
I was going to say, I definitely need to give you a cheers, toast, bravo to you, because that's really amazing that she's tied to all these different people.
Yeah. There's no more 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. That's scratched. That's old. It's 6 Degrees of Karen Abercrombie. Black Lives Matter. Thank you. Support the movement. Support the movement. That's right. All right. Now we come to the part of the show before the Bema Seat. This is a place where people like to share their Christian experience. Why are you laughing?
I just, I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Mm-hmm. This is where we invite our listeners and possibly a guest to come on and share their Christian experience, an experience that will inspire new and rededicated Christians. Now, Resa said to me, we talked about this last show, that you said maybe I should do it the first one to show people, how it's done and what it's going to feel like, etc. And so I guess we're going to do mine. I guess I will be the first interview on our own podcast. Does this mean you want to do it next week if we don't have another person, Resa?
Me?
She's like, no. We're just starting with you.
Okay. Yeah, not yet.
Okay. All right. All right. So maybe I will inspire whoever's listening or watching to say, yeah, I think I could do that next. Okay. So Resa, you're going to take over my role, which I would normally do with the guests, and let's get started before the Bema Seat.
Let's get into your story.
Okay. All right. Part of the Bema Seat is that we actually give some kind of story. I'm going to give how I became a member of First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens. Okay. Before I was in the Baptist faith, I was actually in the Mormon faith. I was raised Mormon. I know, mouth drop. And so I was in that faith from probably age 12 to about 28, somewhere around there. And that's when I realized that faith was not serving me in the way that was helping me grow in my spiritual walk. And I was finding out some things in the church that was kind of bothersome for me as a person of color. So it was time to go back to my roots. So at first I went to AME. My grandmom's was an AME. So it didn't quite feel quite right to me there either, probably because I'd been apart from that faith for so long. And then I tried the Baptist faith. I felt more at home in the Baptist faith and the way they did things. And so I went from church to church for a while, trying to find the right connection. In downtown New Brunswick, I found a church and became a member of. And I took my new members classes, after turning my life back over to Christ again. And it was becoming time to get baptized. And after the class were finished, nobody said anything about my baptism. And so I reached out once and they said, oh, well, we know we're going to get to you. We're going to get to you. And nothing happened. And twice, nothing happened. And the third time I was like, well, man, maybe there's something wrong with the baptismal fund. I don't know, And so sure enough, some time went by to the point where I overheard somebody saying something, and being a person that has jumped from church to church, I used it because I was hearing something that the leaders had said. I overheard something the leaders said. It made me feel like, I just need to go ahead and just find another church, because I looked for a reason to leave. I was looking at the people in the church rather than the Bible and my connection to God and how it's being poured into. I also wasn't looking at the fact that people are people and people are human. And so it's not about finding perfect people. It's about finding a church home you're comfortable in and that you feel like you can grow in. It's not about looking at your leadership to be perfect. I didn't learn that lesson until I walked through the doors of First Baptist, and I left it on God. Me and God had this whole agreement when I found my new church home. I said, look, I'm tired of bouncing from church to church to church. And so I'm going to leave this up to you. And so God said to me, I had to go to two services every Sunday. And I couldn't accept Christ in my life in this church unless he told me it was time to accept it. And so it got to the point where the ministry was starting to see that I was going to two services every Sunday, 7 a.m. and I think it was a 10, or it might have been 9, 7 and 9. I think it was 7 and 9. This is way before COVID. And which is funny because now I'm going to two services again. And with our podcast, I listen to two services still. But he put it on my heart to join First Baptist under Pastor Soares, and now under Pastor Quick. And it was totally his call. And let me tell you about being a new member of First Baptist Church. They're not like the other church where you have your meetings and then you have to find them and ask them about the baptism. They walk with you all the way through it. They're like, oh, you accepted Christ? They get your name, they get your email, they get your phone number. They're like every Sunday looking for you. The new members teacher is like, has a seat waiting for you every Sunday to sit right there and learn something. They're following up with you. They're praying with you. When it comes to baptismal day, it is a big occasion. It is not a small thing to get baptized. I mean, they put the whole church on notice. Today we are having sister and brother and these people are getting baptized. It could be you by yourself. It could be 17 of you. I think when I got baptized, there was like 18 of us all getting baptized that Sunday. But it's a beautiful occasion. It's a beautiful occasion. And then you get dressed and then you come into the sanctuary. They clap and go crazy about the new members in Christ. So if you get a chance to join a house of worship that is happy to have you there, please do it. Accept Christ in your life. But remember, my cautionary thing to all those that are listening that are new or rededicated is they're people just like you. They're fallible just like you are. Do not go into a faith expecting perfection out of the saints. They're all there working on their stuff, including our own pastor. And that's the mistake I made in the past when I went from one church to the other church. I was looking for some kind of perfection. That's where I was immature in my walk. But God grew me up by making me go to two services every Sunday. You hear Pastor Soares preaching two services, it does something to you. Or you hear him preach, or one pastor teach something, and then it grows you up quick. The more words you get poured into you, and you're pouring over your scriptures, and you're praying a lot, it changes you. So my advice is, when you decide to give your life over to Christ, please remember these are humans. The only person that was perfect died on the cross for us, and with the blood of Christ and His grace, all of us will make it back to Him. So that's my one little story I would share, is my leapfrogging through faith, trying to figure it out.
Okay. So now it's time for you to have a seat at the Bema Seat. Mm-hmm. So regarding your faith, what was your happiest memory?
Happiest memory had to be baptismal day.
Which words or phrases do you most overuse?
Oof. The editor and me that edits this podcast would say because I hear how many times I say on a podcast. But the phrase I use a lot has to be, that's not that electric. And I use that in phrases like when somebody does something and they think they're the ish, they think they're the thing. I'm like, what you said is not that electric. I say that all the time with my kids. And they think it's quite funny because I say, what he did was not so electric that you got to do da 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 da. So that's my phrase. Yeah.
Which talent would you most like to have?
I always wanted to learn how to play the piano. I had a sister in the Mormon faith, Sister Pearson, Marjorie Pearson, that was a music teacher, and she was great at the piano, organs, anything. And so she looked at me and said, "You should learn how to play the piano," because I'd sung, I knew how to sing really well, and I always wanted to play the piano. And Alicia Keys still to this day makes me want to. And Anita Baker makes me want to play the piano,
At this moment, which biblical character do you identify with the most and why?
I would say, not going to say Eve. I'm going to stop. I'm going to say Mary of Bethany. She's the sister of Martha and the sister of Lazarus. She had a great faith in Jesus. Anyone that would say, forget about doing chores and let's just sit and listen to Jesus, I'm down with her. Me and her are totally there.
What do you believe is your greatest achievement?
Being a mother was one of the biggest achievements of my life.
What, excuse me, what is your greatest regret?
Oh, biggest regret. My biggest regret in life. I would say not being able to tell my sister I love her one last time before she passed away. Not, having like a sister's trip or some big, something where we would have spent a lot of time together before she passed. There was some distance between us before she passed. That's the biggest regret for me.
And what would you like to hear God say when you get to heaven?
Ooh. In my mind, Resa, it's a cinematic thing. It would be like, when I passed, it'd be like this bright light, very cinematic. Like I would cover my eyes, it's so bright, my spiritual eyes. I'd be in spiritual form, of course. And then there'll be wind that's kind of going, so you kind of like go back a little bit. And then, as I'm trying to see, I would see like the pearliness of the white, I'm trying to see through it. And then I would hear this James Earl Jones type of deep voice that says, daughter, welcome, or welcome, daughter, something like that. That's what I'm hoping to hear him say. Like he's proud to see me, like he's like, welcome. But it'd be that deep James Earl Jones, that Mufasa voice. That's what I'm waiting for, girl. Like that.
I really love the theatrics. Now I know where I get it from.
Oh, wow. That was fun. Now, if anyone wishes to be interviewed for the Bema Seat, share any story from your Christian experience. It could be something positive. It could be a cautionary tale. Just go to withquickness.com and select the Bema Seat tab. There you can fill out the interview form and schedule your virtual interview. You can also email bemaseat@withquickness.com to begin the guest process. So Resa, another showdown. I think we did a good job today. Do you think Karen Abercrombie was listening to us?
Maybe you never know. Maybe she was.
Yeah.
If not her, it could have been someone that works for her.
Someone that was within the 6 degrees that can get a message to her.
Possibly.
That there's a new 6 degrees on the scene, and she's at the center of it. Mm-hmm. Yes. And those that want to give Angeline me another name to try, just send me an email, Angeline@withquickness.com, and I will see if I can make a connection. Because the minute I can't, then we know it doesn't work anymore. The magic is gone. But I think God is going to make the magic stay there for a while on her. It's going to stay there. You're going to sprinkle and realize she's the connection through all of Hollywood and the music industry. She's there. All through the churches and everything. She's there. I feel like when Whitney Houston was playing, the godmother in Cinderella.
Yeah. Like
she kind of took her wand and just put it on Karen, like, ding, you're the new 6 degrees. Enjoy it. It's been bestowed on you, Yeah. Well, I hope you have a great 4th of July tomorrow, Resa, in the US. That's the 4th of July. We're celebrating independence. I don't know about everybody's independence. I already celebrated Juneteenth. I feel like that was our holiday. I'm going to tell the truth. But don't laugh. It's true. I kind of feel like Juneteenth is when all my people were free. I don't know what they talk about.
Well, yeah, because I just look at it as it's a day off. So
a paid day off.
So it's like I can't get
mad. Enjoy the food, enjoy the festivities and the fireworks, right?
Well, they've been going off since yesterday. Yeah. In the wee hours, which is like not cool to wake up and hear that. Or be awoken by.
Did you think it was a gun going off somewhere?
No,
like
I kid you not. I really thought it was, and it like scared the daylights out of me. I'm looking outside, and I'm like, it's the neighbor's kid again with the fireworks.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's all it is for all of us. We've had a lot of gun problems in the United States. I'm hoping that nobody uses this festive time to do any carnage. That's my hope and prayer for our nation, that we just celebrate independence, please. Let's have nothing else tragic happen. For all of those that are celebrating, we wish you a wonderful 4th of July. But for everyone else, we just want to say thank you so much for tuning in and listening, and we hope to see you next week, right, Resa, on With the Quickness.
Of course. Oh, and let me just also specify, even though I may not be celebrating like that, I do want to thank everyone that has served for our country, so that I will celebrate. So if you ever served for our country, I do thank you for your service.
All right. I'll do that too. Thank you so much. Salute. Thank you so much for tuning in with the Quickness. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Have a great week.
I just can't stop thinking about you. I just can't stop thinking about you. I just can't stop thinking about you.